sometimes we say we want a soft life, but we're so busy bulldozing ourselves, bullying ourselves to do more, that there's some soft life stuff that we could have right now, but we're telling ourselves no because we're trying to hurry up and make things happen in an unrealistic timeline.
Welcome to Impostrix Podcast Season 4. My name is Whitney and I am your host. Thanks for joining us for this episode. I am excited to jump into it. Impostrix Podcast validates professionals of color navigating imposter experiences and racial toxicity within their careers. And this season, we are focusing exclusively on pouring into Black women. How can we take care of the Black women in our lives? If we are a Black woman, how can we pour into ourselves? How can we receive the pour from others? So this episode is going to be about that and all the episodes within this season. So sit back, get your listening ears on. Let's get into it. Welcome back to Impostrix Podcast. My name is Whitney Knox-Lee. I am your host. I am here today with Rashidat, and I'm really looking forward to this conversation. If you're a regular listener of Impostrix Podcast, then you probably heard the episode that I re-released on the show during the season 3 to season 4 break. That was an episode hosted by Rashida on her YouTube channel that her and I had regarding the glass cliff and Kamala Harris and all the things. So this is actually our third conversation that we've recorded together between our two shows. And I'm excited for this conversation because we're going to be talking about the soft life. And when I first started talking to Rashida, I was like, look, I don't think that there can be a soft life for Black people. But she disagrees. So we're going to talk. We're going to talk about this. I will say she travels a lot, having visited or lived in 30 different cities domestically and internationally. And she is very proud of the lifestyle that she's been able to build for herself, which allows her to be on the go if she wants and spend months at a time with her friends and family. So I'm looking forward to hearing all about that because that's what I'm trying to be. And so, Rashida, welcome to the show.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I love when we get together because it's always a good conversation.
It is. She ain't lying. So I like to start the conversation with having you share just a little bit more about the identities that you are bringing to this conversation. So who else are you?
Yes. So I love that you asked that because one of the biggest things is I'm trying to define myself outside of my job title. So, yes, I'm a life coach or a lifestyle coach, and I've been a fashion designer, but I actually am more of an encourager. I am wise, that actually means that I make mistakes all the time, and your girl is just good at getting back up again. And then I'm an adventurer, and I think I'm a good time. I like to have a good laugh and enjoy people's company. So those are the ways that I am trying to lead in how I define who I am rather than any work or anything else that
Yeah.
other people use.
Yeah, no, you're definitely a good time. I have fun every time. We're always laughing. We were laughing as we were getting set up, and we're going to talk about this a little bit more. But Rashida sent me a worksheet that I decided to complete in advance of this conversation. Or, well, I started completing it, and then I got overwhelmed because it was asking too many questions that were really going to make me be thinking. One of the questions that it asks is, how old are you going to be in 10 years? Like, what? So I'm over here doing the math, but I can't believe the math because obviously it's not hard to add 10 to 37, but I can't believe it. So I'll probably do a screenshot and put on Instagram that I wrote 47 with like 10 exclamation points. I do not like this. I do not like it at all. So yeah, anyway, so like I said, Rashida and I disagree as far as this soft life for Black folks. So, what is the soft life for you? Like, what are we talking about when we talk about soft life?
Yeah, so I think some of the trends have come out and been like, well, soft life is like never working again and never having to pay bills. And inside of that, also living this extremely luxurious life where you're all you do is get your nails done every day, and you sit by the pool, and you you do obviously this life that feels like most of us are like, yeah, there's absolutely no way I'll ever be able to do that, because I don't know anybody that's about to take me on as their sugar mama or their shit. Like, there's nobody that's signing up to be my sugar mama or my sugar daddy. So how am I supposed to get that? And I have been in this, I'm going to say, this movement to reframe that and say it's less about this life where we sit around and do nothing all day. And I think it's more about this space where we can live a life where we don't have to prove ourselves every single day, where we can show up fully as ourselves, where I can say, yes, these things are some of the things about me, but here's who I truly am. Like, how can I want to show up in a space? We talk about authenticity, but what does it look like to show up and be fully you and give that away and not have to prove that you have worth or value in that space? Because that's not the space. You're right. Most of us as Black women, Black people have not had that space, but I think it's a part of creating that soft life is our reparations to be able to show up that way. And that is, I think that's worth fighting for. And no, it's not easy, but I definitely think it's also possible.
I love that dream. Um, and I also know that, like, this is a reality for you, right? Like, it's not
Hmm.
yet like I'm working on it. I was just thinking to myself, after this conversation, I am going to go meet with a client and she's going to sign some papers. And I'll probably be bringing my 7-year-old with me because one, why not? Two, I want him to see what I do. But three, it's the week before Christmas as we are recording this, and we have to go do some Christmas shopping. And I was thinking, well, is that unprofessional, or is there going to be, is there issue? Is there an issue that I'm not
Hmm.
seeing? And then I had to remind myself that I work for my damn self.
Right.
So, it's this showing up authentically in practice does
Hmm.
mean sometimes, doing things that I might not normally do because it's more convenient. I don't want to have to go all the way up there, drive all the way back to get my kid, and then drive all the way back out again and still trying to get stuff done before this Atlanta traffic.
Mm.
So I I like how you frame soft life because you're right. When I think about soft life, I think about just chilling by the pool. Like, and money is just falling from the sky. Like, um, and I'm not stressed and I'm not, doing all these things. I also liked your language around reparations. And this being a part of reparations. So let's pause a minute and just get real. You do everything for everybody. But have you taken a moment to care for future you? Getting your affairs in order isn't just about wills or trusts, it's about peace of mind for you and love for those that you leave behind. Ideally, we should all have an estate plan. And if you're in Georgia, Wills for the People can help you out. But if you're not ready yet to create your will or trust, there's something that you can do that will go a long way in helping the future you, and that is to get organized. The I Plan for This Life Organizer for when it's needed is a workbook designed to help you organize your life with clarity and ease, making it so that if someone needs to care for you or for your affairs because you're not able to, they have all of the information that they need. No stress, no confusion, just a record made by you, about you. Visit willsforthepeoplega.com to get your copy because you deserve to be prepared and to have your loved ones prepared. Again, that's willsforthepeoplega.com and click on the workbook tab. Back to the show. I wonder, because when I think about reparation, I think more about what other people need to give me.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think that that's that. But also in thinking about what you just said around soft life, I'm thinking about, is this a reparation to myself?
Mm-hmm.
Um, is striving for this type of soft life, and specifically striving for the not always having to be on, not always having to be perfect, not always having to take care of things and get things done. Um, is that something that I can give myself as a
Mm-hmm.
way of pouring into myself, as a way of reparation for the entire 37 years that I've lived thus far, doing all the things that we are supposed to do as Black women, the really exhausting caregiving, the really exhausting, like not even of just the family, but of the everything, of all of the things that are happening around us, of the societal pressure that Black women will do it and do it, whatever it is. And I think that that's really interesting, thinking about my own personal reparation to myself, the unlearning for myself.
Yeah, because the thing is, at this point, I had to take a step back and realize that I had internalized the external pressure and made it my own.
Right.
So even if the external pressure went away, I've already internalized it, which means I'm going to continue to do it because I've decided I needed to do it. So how do I stop doing that? I've got to change that even within myself
Mhm.
if I actually want that to actually be an external thing as well.
Mhm.
It's hard.
It is, because so much of it is deeply ingrained in me, speaking for myself, like, um I've been going through a process now of washing my hands of things, of saying,
Mhm.
"That's not my business," or, "That is my business, but it's also your business and you can handle it."
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
I think one of the last times that we talked, I talked about how often I insert myself in to conflict or drama, or a thing that needs fixing, a thing that needs a solution. Ain't nobody asked me to come and do this thing and make somebody else's life easier, or to, solve this problem. I saw a problem and then I inserted myself.
Mhm.
And so I've been really trying hard to not do that, so that I can just have it a little bit easier, have a little bit more space in my brain, in my head, have a little bit more capacity, have a little bit more time. This week I really prioritized sitting on the couch and watching TV at the end of the day, instead of working some more, folding laundry, making sure there's clean pants for the morning, cleaning up behind all these people that live in my house. There's so many other things that I could be doing besides sitting on the couch, and normally I would be doing those things.
Mhm.
Um, is my house a mess? Yes. And it's all right. It'll be fine. Somebody will clean it at some point.
Right. And it ain't going to be me.
Mhm. Mhm. So what happened for you to have gotten to this point of, like, living your soft life?
Yeah, so two things happened because it happened first in the corporate scenario and then it happened again in my own business. So in the corporate scenario, I used to be a technical designer within the fashion industry, which meant I am the executor. So literally, if anything went wrong, I am the problem solver. I was the one who
Mhm.
had to figure it out, which, man, did I
Mm.
not make a job of being a strong Black woman? I didn't recognize it then, but that was evidently what I was doing. And so I remember I had taken a new position and I was being asked to again be a problem solver in a bigger way with at that point it was 28 teams I was being a advocate between, and I was like, listen, I'm figuring this ish out as I go. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Can I get
Mhm.
some help? And can you actually pay me for all of this work that I'm running around doing? And they were like, no.
Mm.
And they were like, and on top of that, it was like no, and no is a full sentence. And I wanted to be like, bitch, excuse me? You
Yeah.
And I was like, no, that's not the correct answer. And so that was like, okay, that happened. A lot of things snowballed at work. And then I was like at the end of paying off my last debt payment for my student loans. And I had done Dave Ramsey's Total Money Makeover. I had $69,000 in debt. And I was literally to the last $1,200 payment. And I remember thinking, once I click this button, I don't have to be here anymore because I don't have the same level of bills. I don't have the debt hanging behind me. I literally have a level of financial freedom that I've never really had before. And that opens me up to have a level of freedom and choice
Mhm.
that I didn't have before because I couldn't just leave the job because I had bills to pay. And I
Mhm.
have some bills, but it wasn't like having $1,200 of payments or,
Mhm.
a car note, that all of those things that we have to pay. And I was like, okay, if I don't want to do this, what the heck am I going to do? And I had been in that doing the next thing phase for so long that I call it my dreaming gland. I
Mm.
don't know. I felt like my dreaming gland had dried up. That thing had shriveled. It was like a raisin, and it wasn't even a juicy raisin. Like it was a dry raisin. You'd be like, "Oh, girl, I need to put this in some water so I could even chew this
Yes.
thing and get it down."
Yes.
Like it was dried up, and I was like, "Wow, my dreams have dissipated because I've been so much in the process of getting things done, of making sure everybody else is okay, of problem solving for everybody else, that I don't even know I can't even problem solve for myself if I wanted to go do something else." And I was like, oh hell no. We can't
Mhm.
keep doing this. I
Mhm.
don't know what I'm gonna do, but it ain't gonna be this.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna figure it out. And so that was huge for me. That was the first big step. And then like I said, it happened again within my business, but we could come back around to that a little bit later.
Yeah, I mean, and I think you mentioned your financial situation, and for me, that's been a
Mhm.
big deal. Like, I, um, worked within the nonprofit field, for 10 years and had more than 200,000. It was like 200,000 and four $240,000 in student loans from going to a
Mm.
private law school, right? And but there was the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. Who knows if it'll be by the time this episode airs, who knows where that will be. But
Right.
my loans were forgiven,
Mm.
after my 10 years.
Mm.
And I had this similar revelation. Um, and it wasn't so much of like, I mean, for some reason, like I was still out there busting my ass and, doing all the things. So it wasn't quite I could change my lifestyle because I don't need this job. But it was definitely I don't need this job anymore. Like I don't know what job I need, but I don't need this. And when I think about soft life and as I was working on the 10-year visioning plan that you sent, definitely one of the boxes you ask about financial plans, one of the boxes is absolutely continuing to be debt free. So
Mhm.
I said debt free besides a mortgage, but preferably no mortgage. I want my kids to have scholarships for their school. I
Hey.
don't want to take out debt for your school. And I also don't really want to pay for your school.
Mhm.
And then able to afford to only work part time.
Mm.
And so I'm also really feeling and have been, I mean, throughout my adulthood, finances and having a good credit score and having a savings and all of those things have been really important to me because I want to have the options. But I only just recently started thinking about I want to have enough money to not have to work all the time.
Mhm.
And when I say all the time, I don't even wanna work 40 hours a week. I definitely
Mm-hmm.
don't want to work 60 or 80, but I don't even want to work 40. I want to
Mm-hmm.
work a few days for a few hours.
Mm-hmm.
And so thinking about, like, for me, that is the soft life that I dream of,
Mm-hmm.
is having some freedom from work and accountability in that way. So
Mm-hmm.
setting up systems right now, I'm working on my 7 streams of income. I got 6. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Working on systems that can be sustainable long term so that I'm able to live the life that I want to live in 10 years, um, and be happy and free, because the other thing is, obviously, I could just not work and not have money.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is a thing, and for
Right.
some people, going off grid and not relying on material things and all of that stuff is their soft life. It ain't mine. I'm gonna just go ahead and
Mm-hmm.
say it. It ain't mine. I don't want to be off grid. I do want to be by a pool. I want to be looking at a beach. Like, I want to be experiencing the things that I love. And that's gonna take some money is really what I'm saying. Uh
Yeah.
so yeah, that I think is really important when we're talking about soft life and we're talking about pouring into ourselves, is setting up our financial situation so that we can pour into ourselves.
Yeah. And I think that's the other beautiful thing about the vision, because one of the things about paying off debt is that it's a marathon. It took, I mean, I was pretty lucky, 2.5 years to pay off that $69,000 in debt. That's pretty quick for most
Very.
people. You know what I mean? Um, so you got to have an idea of like, what am I doing this for? Because if I'm telling myself no, if I don't know that this is no for a short term and I can't see how like where this is going and how long it's going to go, you don't have the same level of motivation to continue it. So, no, like when I was paying off my debt, my biggest thing was I didn't want to be, I didn't, I kept calling it more, but I knew I didn't want to be confined to that one location. I knew that I wanted to spend more time with the people that I love, and they were not all in the same place. After me being in different places and making relationships everywhere I went, I knew that I wanted to be able to spend physical in person time with them, because I'm better in person than I am on the phone. Listen, I'm terrible on the phone. So I knew that that was important to me. So that was what kept me going.
Mhm.
Otherwise, I could have been like, oh, I just saved up this $1,200, but let me go buy a trip. Or let me go buy. I mean, I'm not the person who wants to go buy the Dooney and Brook bag, but those are
Yeah.
the things that we are exchanging for. Or let me go. I really wanted this Mercedes. Listen, is that Mercedes worth enough to keep you in this lifestyle right now so that you never get to the point where you can actually afford that? So it's one of those things where we have to practice. It's not no, it's just not right now. But if you can't see that it's not right now, if you don't know what you're planning for, and that's why I love the 10-year vision map, because then you can see, okay, everything that I want to accomplish, and I just did a video about this. If you didn't accomplish everything in your vision board for this year, you're probably like, oh, I failed. But let's actually do a reframe. What if it's that the dreams that you had, everybody's telling us to dream big, right?
Mhm.
So why do we think our biggest dreams are going to happen in a year?
Mm.
They're going to take a little bit longer than that.
Mhm.
And some of your big dreams, like, okay, that 7 income streams and this, that takes time to build. So when you have your 10-year vision and you can say, okay, but I could finish the first income stream in the first year, the second income stream in the second year, and then this third income stream, it's going to take a little bit longer. That's a year and a half. You can see the path, the milestone that you're building, and that gives you the resilience. And it also is like, I don't have to bully myself to do more because I'm doing this for the long haul. I can take rest today. So I can go sit by the pool rather than making myself think, or like you said, you said this week you specifically practiced sitting in front of the TV. You needed that.
Mhm.
But if you don't have the mindset to remember this is a long haul, then you're going to keep pushing yourself to do more and more, which counteracts. This is the other thing that I think about a soft life. Sometimes we say we want a soft life, but we're so busy bulldozing ourselves, bullying ourselves to do more, that there's some soft life stuff that we could have right now, but we're telling ourselves no because we're trying to hurry up and make things happen in an unrealistic timeline.
Mm, you speaking to me because I will bust it out. I will do like I mean, the sense of urgency that I feel almost all the time. One of my good friends, she's also recently started an estate planning practice. She had a person reach out to her to do a consultation, but in order to like the time that they wanted to do the consultation was a time that was just really going to be challenging for this friend.
Mm,
She was either
mm-hmm,
going to have to be running late or, trying to squeeze things in and go from there to there really quickly. And so she just responded saying she couldn't do that time. She would love to meet.
mm,
And we push it back a little bit.
mm-hmm,
I don't do that enough.
mm, mm-hmm,
I and some of it is scarcity mindset of like, "Well, let me get this money real quick." But some of it is also just like, conflating quickness and
mm,
efficiency with quality. So
mm-hmm,
if I can respond quickly, if I can see you quickly, if I can do this thing quickly, then that is going to relate to what you perceive the quality of my work is. And those
mm-hmm,
are not the same. In fact, for
mm-hmm,
me, I am someone where when I'm rushing things, I am making mistakes. Part of my process right now is that I need to slow down. I need to
mm-hmm,
allow more space. And going back to the reparations for self or towards self, the way that I see this is allowing myself the time to do a good job, allowing myself the time to feel competent and comfortable in what I'm doing, allowing myself time to be able to give the person, the client that I'm working with, my full attention,
mm-hmm,
and not having to be running late to appointments or just arriving on time and now I'm shuffling through my papers to find the stuff. um, and that too is retraining for me
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
because especially working in the fields that I've worked in, where it's like the emergency room for legal issues, everything is an emergency.
mm-hmm,
So I need to work quickly
mm-hmm,
because I need to get to the next gurney over there, the next person who
mm-hmm,
has some legal issue. Um, but now running my business, I get to decide what is
mm-hmm,
urgent and what is not urgent, or how many matters I'm going to take on this month, or tomorrow I'm taking the day off to go volunteer in my kids classroom. um I realized that I have done that more when I was working for somebody else than for my own self.
mm-hmm,
And ain't
mm-hmm.
that a damn trip, because how does that make
Hmm.
any sense? Isn't this the whole point, is the flexibility and all that? Like, I would volunteer, like, once a month to, like, reorganize books up in that classroom. I haven't been there yet this year. Um, so I think I like to blame other people for the opposite of the soft life, the hard life. Um, and some of it is systems, but a big part of it is recalibrating my own self.
Mm, mm-hmm. Guessing that recalibration, and because it's not a once and done.
Mm,
That's the other thing about the recalibration. We can't set that and forget it. Like we have to keep asking ourselves every single time. Like, wait, was this actually what I wanted this to look like? Which is the other reason why I love vision and why I have all of those boxes on the outside of it where it talks about, well, what does this look like in each area of your life? Because otherwise, if you don't actually sit and ask yourself what it looks like, it's so easy to keep defaulting back to doing more,
mhm,
which again is that hard life. It's the opposite of the soft life, but that's how we've been reared. So if we want to unlearn it, we have to ask ourselves in every single part of it. So then in our relationships, our relationship to self, what does it look like to recalibrate myself to allow myself to have that space? What is it? How do I recalibrate that in my relationship to my partner, to my kids, to my parents, to to my job, to my business? Because we listen, anybody that's entrepreneur will tell you your business is like your baby. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So you got to recalibrate your relationship to that as well. And that's where I said before, I jumped into my business and I got so passionate about it that I was literally working more in my business than I had ever worked in my corporate job. Um, and what happened was I started having heart palpitations. My body started
Mm.
talking to me. My body said, "Oh, hold up, child. Hold up. It, didn't we say this was supposed to be better for us? What part of this is better right now? Because this whole part, you're like quietly killing yourself, and that's not the kind of quiet quitting we want to do. We don't want to quiet quit life. You know what I mean? Like that's not what we're trying to do. And I was like, oh, like my cortisol levels were literally up. My whole body was like, child, if you don't go take yourself and sit down. And I was like, oh, wow, I really have to start to dissect. Because again, like you said, it was easy for me to blame it on the job. But if you're that person that's tried the new job, you've tried the new boss because you thought the job was the problem, then you thought the boss was the problem, then
Mm-hmm.
you thought the company was the problem. You've tried all of that stuff and it's still not right. What's the common denominator, child? It's you.
Yes, that's
It's
absolutely
you.
right. So for folks that are listening, I'm sharing my screen now. So for folks on YouTube or who are watching, can see the 10-year vision map that Rashidat sent, and it's got on the outside are two columns that have key results. So key results for your last 10 years. It's got four different subjects: personal life, professional life, financial life, spiritual life, emotional, purposeful, physical, and relational. And then
Mhm.
the next two columns towards the inside are all of those same categories, but it's asking about your objectives. And then on the inside is the focal point of your 10-year vision. And so I was telling Rashida when we got on that, like, I didn't even do the outside because that was overwhelming for me. That was like, oh my gosh, okay, thinking about what's happening in 10 years. I told you I didn't like thinking about that I was going to be 47. So I'm mad at that, first of all. And in 10 years, it's going to be 2034 because it asks you, what year will it be? All of this is like, my math must be wrong because there's no way it's going to be 2034. But yes, indeed, it will be. So I'm just gonna zoom in because I want to show you all and Rashida, because she hasn't seen like my filled in version, a little bit of what my thoughts were and how this is helpful for me, even on day one of the next 10 years, right? So my personal life, I want to be engaged and invested in a supportive and fun community. Um, for my what one is this? Professional, flexibility, less challenge and more ease, running a
Mm,
successful and lucrative business, and philanthropy.
mm,
Financial, I already mentioned that, but debt free, basically. And being able to afford to work part time. For my spiritual, I want to be engaged in a spiritual practice that makes me feel good,
mhm,
rooted in gratitude and community and humility. For my emotional life, I want to be mentally stable and managing menopause because it'll be 10 years from now. That's just crazy. That's just crazy. But I know because I have older friends that menopause is mm, all over the place. Like, I need a menopause coach starting now
right?
so that I
Right?
can be preparing myself for this. Um, Purposeful life objective is philanthropy. I want to be serving. And, because I want to be rich, basically, I would like to be giving my money away. I would like to have
Mhm.
so much money that I'm giving some of it away. And in fact, that it benefits me to give some of it away, not just other people. Um, Physical, I don't want diabetes or hypertension. So these are things that
Mm,
run in my family.
yeah.
And I'm pre-diabetic now. And so again, going back
Mm,
to the like on day one thing and thinking about my vision for myself in 10 years when my children are 17 and 14. Like, I want to be here. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
alive, period.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and then relational, I want to date my husband. I want that, right now it's partners in keeping these kids alive. And I'm looking forward to getting back to dating and romance. Like, today we're like, are we buying each other Christmas presents? Like, there's no, we are business partners right now. Um, but this was really helpful for me,
Mhm,
because it is concrete and it can get more
mhm.
concrete if I want it to get more concrete.
Yeah.
Um, and so, 2, all of these things for me have to do with my soft life, with
Mhm,
the type of life that I wanna be living in 10 years from now. Um, and so it is really helpful for me to put this down on a long-term basis instead of the vision board for the year or instead of the
mhm.
quarterly business goals.
Yeah.
Um, so how do you usually work with folks through this map?
Yeah. So we actually start with a couple steps before this because this is a lot. Like this is like how the heck am I supposed to get to this point? Like I
Mhm.
don't even know what I want to eat for dinner tonight. How am I supposed to answer this question?
Mhm.
So yeah, we have a couple steps before this, and I really started with we come back to, well, who am I?
Mhm.
How do I want to show up in the world? So that's talking about how do I want to define myself outside of work? So what are three characteristics that you want to be known for that really don't have to do with anything other, just literally who are you? And most of us are like deer headlights. You wanted me to describe to you how I am? Yes. So we go through all of that first, and then from that you come out of that with a why statement, characteristics of who you are, your values and how you live them, because all of those become this compass that are directing you towards that life. And
Mm.
those are how we make our decisions, because okay, if I don't have a good compass, then I'm still going to end up somewhere else because my compass is leading my true north. The north is not true on this compass because it's
Right.
going in the wrong direction. So
Right.
you got to recalibrate your compass. So we've been talking about that in that unlearning. So we start with that, and then next I get into, I have, well, let's get your dream gland, like let's moisturize that thing and get that thing
Mhm.
moving again. And now, once we get to dreaming, then we can get clear on, well, let's start writing it down, because what you say is a soft life, you totally hit it. What you say is a soft life, what I say is a soft life is going to be a different definition, and that's okay. I don't
Mm.
need anybody to have a specific definition. You get to decide this for yourself. But if you don't write it down, you're never going to have that clarity. It's going to instead be like a pixelated picture, and you're
Mm.
like, dang, I could kind of see that it's kind of, I think that's going to be a really nice picture because I can see some really nice colors, but I also can't really see what it is. And so when you write it down, it's making that picture more clear and more clear and more clear until you're like, God dang, no, I like what that looks like. And now you've got this clear picture. And it's almost like, really, the other way that I like to say it is like, think of it like a GPS. The GPS doesn't help you go anywhere if you didn't put a destination in the map.
Mhm.
If you didn't tell the GPS I'm trying to go to Target, you're just driving around with a little blue dot moving around on a GPS.
Mhm.
It ain't taking you anywhere. And that's what most of us are doing. But when we create our vision, we put a destination in the map. And now there's 20 million different ways to get to that destination. We just got to start taking some paths and make sure we're always connecting it back to that destination. And so it actually simplifies this idea of creating a soft life, because now I actually know what I want it to look like.
Mm. Yeah. And even so, a couple of thoughts occurred to me as I was listening to you speak. And one of them was even getting to the space of feeling like I deserve a soft life.
Mm, mm-hmm.
And for some reason, that makes me think of reparations again. And I'm not really sure why. I'm not sure why my brain is connecting that. But this idea of deserving it. Like
Mhm.
I have already just who I am, my existence is enough for me
Mhm.
to get to live how a lot of other people get to live.
Mhm.
Like whatever version of my soft life that is. And so I think that that's really something that I need to process is
Mhm.
do I think that I deserve this?
Mhm. Mhm.
If not, why? If I do, great. Like that's what we're shooting for. But if not, like are there times when I'm self-sabotaging?
Mhm. Mhm.
And then the second thing that I was thinking of is so I like to mentor people and have mentored people in the workplace as I have kind of progressed. And I'm always finding myself talking to people about boundaries with the time that they spend working. Now,
Mm.
so this is something that I'll preach to you all day long, but will I take my own advice? No. And I especially like telling people who are new in their career because when we get our first job, the expectations of our employer become our North Star, perhaps. Like
Mhm.
they become the expectations that we have on ourselves.
Mhm.
So, the expectation you're given this stack of work, you don't see how you can possibly finish this work in the amount of time that you've been given. And now you work through the night, you finish it, it's great, your employer loves it, and they keep giving you those stacks. I like to advise people don't don't set yourself up from the get-go. Like
Right. Right.
do the reasonable amount of time thing, and start setting your boundaries and having expectations of yourself around your work time now. Don't let somebody
Mhm.
else determine that. And obviously, it's much easier than said because at the end of the day, you are accountable to your employer and that's how you're getting paid. But I
Mhm.
think like when I'm talking to people who have a choice as to like whether they're going to sign up to be on a committee or whether they're going to do the extracurricular work that they're really excited about. But also, it's like, if you can do this next semester, or if you can do this at a different time, or do you need to be the one doing this project? Can this
Mhm.
task of this project be delegated? Figuring out just really how to remove stuff from our plate. And that sounds almost like sacrosanct to say that because like that should not we're like no, we shouldn't be wanting to offload our work. After all, this is our job. But like why not? Can't we take this because y'all know what I'm gonna say. It's only us black women that are over here trying to keep everything on our plate.
Mhm.
Ain't nobody else like,
Mhm.
oh, my plate's overflowing. Let me keep it all and get a bigger plate.
Mhm.
Everybody else is like, oh, my plate's overflowing. I guess I need to get stuff off of my plate. I guess I need to
Mhm.
delegate. So I really want to start having that mindset. And it's something that I encourage of others, but I really struggle with myself.
Mhm.
Um, and I think for me, my soft life does involve either having a smaller plate or, yeah, just having a smaller plate is what it entails.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. And not overfilling it, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah. And I think, man, gosh, I personally have been taught that. I remember I've been independent. I hate to say this. You see, I'm like holding myself, but I hate to say I've been dependent since I was 4 years old. I remember doing my own ironing. I remember reading
Mm.
at 4 years old. I remember taking the bus by myself at 6 years old. You know,
Wow.
most kids these days, parents would not let them out of their sights at no 6 years old. And I was taking a bus across town by myself at 6 years old. I was raising children, my nieces and nephews, at 12 years old. I was buying my own clothes in third grade
Mm.
with my own allowance.
Mm.
We have been taught for so long to do it all. Like, so I understand why it's hard for us. And we literally have to start pulling that out for every single thing. I'm dating a guy right now, and I'm like, I don't need his help, but I be making up stuff to ask help for just because it's good practice. It's
I
good
know he's sick of
practice.
you.
But here's the funny thing, he loves it. He's like, I like that you tell me what you want. Cause otherwise I feel like I gotta read your mind,
Right.
but I'm done with you. Like,
Mhm.
and I'm like, okay, good. Here, let me give you something else.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's the thing. That's the thing. Your response is we think they're tired of us, but they're like, no, I actually have been waiting for you to give me something. I've been literally sitting here waiting for you to give me something to do because I know how much you serve me. I know how much you help me. But I know if I just try to do it on my own, you're gonna take it back out my hand. So
Mhm.
I gotta sit here and wait for you to give it to me. So thank you for giving it to me.
Mhm.
An unlearning. What an unlearning.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I want to switch gears just a little bit because I'm really curious to talk to you about the Exodus movements of Black
Hmm.
women and Black people out of the United States. And I know that you are somebody who travels a lot and you want to have that freedom to travel a lot. What is this all about? What is it about?
And I will say, because I'm also a member of the Exodus Summit community. It's a community of, I think on their YouTube channel, it's like 20,000 Black women who like, are into this idea of I can live a better life for me and my family, not just for me, but for me and my family outside of the United States because the American dream was not made for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you know what? Instead of trying to fight to make space for the American dream to be made for me, I'm just going to go somewhere else where I'm more likely going to be received, where it's a different history, it's a different connection. And that doesn't mean that I won't experience some things, but it's going to be a hell of a lot less
Mm-hmm.
than what I've experienced here. And so Black women are opening up their minds and the minds of their family to say, we can actually live a better life somewhere else instead of trying to fight to make space for our safe self here. And I think that goes back to our soft life as well. Like, a huge part of my soft life is not have to wake up every day and feel like I have to armor up, to feel like I have
Mm-hmm.
to fight to survive. Like, actually, nobody else has to wake up in the morning and say, what am I going to have to fight today? I'm
Mm-hmm.
not trying to do that. Like, and these are the other parts of soft life where I think we don't talk about enough
Yes.
because it's a state of lifestyle, it's a state of living, it's a state of mindset. And so when you start looking at that and you start taking a step back from, well, if this country is what's creating this stress, this feeling of being compacted into a box, like this mindset of enslavement, then maybe I need to get out of this country, even if I don't leave permanently. And this is the other thing that I love about this movement with exiting the US. Some people want to leave permanently. Some people want to be able to regularly leave and come back. Some people want a sabbatical from it just so
Mm-hmm.
that because all of it gives us this opportunity to refresh and do that unlearning
Mm-hmm.
in a way that you really can't do just staying here in the States. So, like I told you, I paid off that debt. That after I paid off that debt, I went and traveled backpacked for a year. And then I came back for 2 weeks, and then I went and backpacked for another 3 months. And then I came back, and then I left for another 3 months. And then I came back, and then I left for another 3 months. And then I came back for like a year and a half, and then I left for another year. And what it has done, it has honestly, it's been probably outside of the financial part, seeing my body react in a different way, seeing my spirit feel like it has the opportunity to bloom, seeing other people see me in a different light is this whole, like, we're all exiting this hard life that we've literally been put into the box here and said,
Mm-hmm.
I think this could be different somewhere else. I want to explore what that, I don't even know what that looks like or how exactly it's going to be or what if it's going to feel like, but I want to try it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what that, to me, this exodus looks like.
Wow. So I love this thought. I had a conversation with somebody who is Jamaican.
Mm,
Um, and now I think she's up in Canada, but her name is Dr. Ruth White. She was on maybe season one or two. And we were talking about imposter syndrome, and she was like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I'm just going to be real with you. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm Jamaican. I was born believing that I belong in every room. And we talked about the difference of Black American culture
mhm,
versus Black and brown folks who are not Americanized, or who
mhm,
maybe weren't raised here, or maybe were raised with parents who are not American,
mhm,
and the different mindsets that we have. And I was reflecting on what it would mean to me to not have to wake up and think about, I don't know, whatever insecurity I have, or fear really that I have around what my race and how I present myself is going to impact myself, my profession, my family, my health, my everything, my safety. Um, and so hearing you talk about like the soft life isn't just like physically, what am I doing today? Am I sitting by the pool or not? But also mentally and emotionally, what am
mhm,
I what is my experience right now? What is my
mhm,
level of feeling safe or unsafe? What is my do I have access to healthcare here? And those types of thing I think is just very you know, I couldn't imagine, some of these taking away some of these fears that I have. And my current thing I told my husband is that I want to we've gone back and forth about moving abroad. I would love to do that, but my current thing is spending summers abroad. Um,
mm,
and like as that being a way to like ease into maybe doing something different, like maybe being expats and moving somewhere else. Where have you gone that like you've loved, where you have found that sense of freedom um, to be yourself and feel good, feel safe?
mhm. Well, I'll tell you this. I'm still looking for that place.
Mhm.
I've been a lot of places, and some places where you would have thought it would be a little easier, but I've had more move abroad fails where it's like, I think I want to live here, and then I realize, nah, this ain't it.
Mhm.
Um, for example, I'm Nigerian. I went and spent 4 months in Africa. So Malawi, Zambia, Zimbabwe. Now, when I went, I was with a group that
Mhm.
didn't look like me. And I remember having just as many racially charged experiences there. For one, too, because I am mixed, which I know you like, but girl, you black. My mother is black
You
and my
blackity
father is
black.
Nigerian. Right.
Okay.
And so but they can recognize my Nigerian features, whereas Black Americans don't recognize that as much. So I would be there, and they would be like, "Speak the language," and I'd be like, "I'm American," and they'd be like, "Stop lying." I'd be like, "Listen, boo, I can't speak the language. If I could, I would, but I don't know." So all of that to say, like, I didn't feel safe there either because they had an expectation of me as well.
Mm.
So I say that to say I'm still looking for that place, and that's why I haven't moved abroad yet. I haven't found that place where I feel like this is completely me. But I will say the things that I am looking for, I'm looking for a walkable city. I'm looking for a
Mm.
city that there are Black people, Africans as well, Black
Mhm.
and African people there. I'm looking for a place that has diversity. I didn't grow up by water. I'm looking for a place that has water. I've now been brought into the light of what it is
Oh,
to live by
Lord,
water.
yes. Yes.
Yes. But I also think like so my top on my list, I love Aruba. I will say Aruba is my favorite place in the world. It is 90 degrees and a breeze. It is surrounded by water and there are Black people. Um I'm also looking at Curacao. Curacao is supposed to be a little slightly cheaper in cost of living, but I'm also looking at Mexico City,
Mm-hmm.
where it's in. I love that metropolitan feel as well because I also know I'm a bit of a city girl.
Mm-hmm.
But this is where I say, like, we've also been taught you pick a lifestyle and you just stick to it and go. And
Yeah.
that's why I've had move abroad fails because my first one I went to Rome, and I loved Italy as a country, but I didn't feel home
Rome
there.
is not what you just described. It is not. Walkable,
And,
okay. Water, I mean, it stank, but yes. But did I see people of color? No.
right. And that was the other thing. I went to Rome in 2004. 2004 me didn't know what I needed as much
Yes,
as
yes, yes.
2024 me
Absolutely.
knows. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? So that's the other reason why I say country date. If you're looking to
Country
move
date.
abroad,
Yes.
yeah, like get out there and like experience it. And the other beautiful part about dating is like you're learning about yourself and what you need from another person. You're learning about what you need from a culture, about your living arrangement. Like you're learning those things as you go. So go out there and experience it first because it's like having options that you didn't even know you had because you just never went out there and tried.
Yeah.
So now I have a better understanding of what I want when I finally leave. And also, my dream is quirky as all get out. Now, like when I left before, I just wanted to leave. Like even when I moved to Costa Rica, I just wanted to leave. But now I really I want to buy. I'm an aspiring tiny house owner. I already have a place here in
Mm.
Charlotte that I want to park it. I want to be able to buy some land in Curacao, put my tiny house on a yacht on a barge, and send it to Curacao and take my house with me.
Mm.
How many people are dreaming about stuff like that? But this is what
Wow.
happens when you start opening your mind up to literally any possibility.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
This has been great. I'm going to make sure that folks have your information, but please go ahead and share where folks can find you and your YouTube channel.
Yes. So everywhere I am at your dream strategist. Just try to make it easy. You put that in your dream strategist. You'll find me on LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. Then you might have to look for my actual name because I ain't in the Facebook like that. Find me on the other platforms, okay? That's the best way. But my website is Your Dream Strategist as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rashidat. Um, this has been a great episode. We are pouring into ourselves. I would love to
Hmm.
hear from listeners. What are you doing? Like, what is your soft life? And
Hmm.
like, what steps are you taking now, or what aspects of your soft life are you able to live like right now? I would
Hmm.
love to hear from y'all. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Impostrix Podcast. I hope that you got what you needed. If you're ready for more, feel free to go through the other 3 seasons worth of amazing episodes that we've put together for you. I want to hear from you. I want to know how you related to this episode. So if you're listening on Spotify, feel free to answer the question or send a text. You can do that through your Spotify app. If you're listening elsewhere, make sure that you follow me on Instagram at Impostrix Podcast. And if you like to text, go ahead, go to the show notes, look for the link for the WhatsApp community, because we just got it started this season for season 4, and I love to chat, so hit me up. Also, thank you to Chris at Digital REM for editing this episode. Until next time, be validated.